The person responsible for Flávio Bolsonaro's political campaign bought a mansion worth more than 14 million reais. And the guy had declared an income on his tax return that wasn't enough to buy that house. And Flávio Bolsonaro is using that house. Right, Andre? Right. What does it look like, Andre? It looks like he's a straw owner. It looks like he's the straw owner for a new mansion that the Bolsonaro family bought. Guys, and look, it's not just this mansion. There's another mansion too. Oh my God. Oh, shameless people. It's this one. Look, this one is Jose Vicente Santini Sa. And he bought this house with financing. Financed. And guess who financed it for him? BRB. The bank that's at the center of the fraud storm involving Daniel Vorcaro's mafia. Was it Vorcaro who paid for this house? Guys, who authorized the loan, Andre? Paulo Henrique, who's in jail. Former president of BRB, political ally of Ibanez Rocha, Bolsonaro supporter, former governor of the federal district. The guy would have to have an income of almost 500,000 reais a month to be able to finance a house worth almost 15 million reais. And he was a salaried employee. And he was an advisor to Flávio. He didn't have that income. So this right here, look, is going to become the subject of an investigation. Federal Congressman Lindenberg Farias is going after it. He'll file a complaint about this situation soon. Look, the suspicion, what does this look like? That this Jose is a front man for Flávio Bolsonaro for the purchase of a house financed by BRB, which is at the center of the storm around Daniel Vorcaro's mafia. The house payment is almost 130,000 reais. Where is it coming from? Where is this money coming from? Or where did it come from? Let's watch Congressman Lindenberg Farias clarify some more information about this here. Go ahead and hit the like button. It's really important. Wow, people really love mansions, don't they?
The Flávio Bolsonaro scandal. He is using a mansion in Lago Sul as his campaign headquarters, which was bought for 14.5 million in the name of his campaign coordinator, Jose Vicente Santini. Now, here's the detail. He paid 4 million and 10.5 million was financed by BRB. Just like Flávio Bolsonaro's mansion, which was financed by BRB. Now, the detail is who was the president of BRB at the time? Paulo Henrique Costa, who is in jail at Papuda for involvement and direct ties to Vorcaro. He was part of Vorcaro's gang. The question everyone wants to know is there Vorcaro's money involved in the purchase of this house? Flávio Bolsonaro, do you want this as your campaign HQ? Look, his campaign coordinator, Jose Vicente Santini, took out a loan of 10.5 million. He has to pay 128,000 every month. For someone to be able to get a loan like that, they need to have a salary and income of 429,000. But he had a public position with a salary of just over 20,000 reais. It's scandalous, but it's in the Bolsonaro family's DNA. They love mansions, even Eduardo Bolsonaro with his mansion. Over there in the United States, Eduardo Bolsonaro, who kept Vorcaro's money, went to the Raven Gate Fund, and they had already bought 51 properties with cash. That's the truth. The Bolsonaro family's scandal was the 51 properties bought with cash. It's corruption money. Flávio Bolsonaro has to explain himself. He has to explain the origin of the money.
Of the purchase of this mansion that serves as his campaign headquarters in Lago Sul.
Yeah, guys, it's a lot of mansions, a lot of properties, a lot going on, right? To me, this looks like a money laundering scheme using a straw owner. Yeah, Andre, it is. And that's not all. Another mansion showed up besides this one. The player Richard from the Brazilian national team said he bought a mansion in Angra dos Reis. He paid millions and millions of reais for this mansion. Then suddenly a guy showed up saying he owned the mansion together with whom? with Flávio Bolsonaro there in Angra dos Reis, where Bolsonaro has a house. And he filed a lawsuit claiming the right to the house. And Richarlison Richard today says that he has a legal battle over a house that he bought and paid for, where this friend of Flávio, together with Flávio, is trying to take his mansion. Andrea, so wherever there's a scheme, there's Flávio. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Look here, Richard Richardson exposes a disagreement with Flávio Bolsonaro over a mansion. They took it from me. The case came to light through a post by real estate lawyer Ana Paula Zutut, who said that Thomas Wheeler, the lawyer for Senator Flávio Bolsonaro, and maybe Flávio himself, bought the mansion because Flávio got involved in the dispute along with the lawyer whose property had been acquired by Richard G. Richardson. The forward confirmed the mess by commenting on the post. Honestly, I spent around 10 million on the house. What does this look like here? That the lawyer is a front man for Flávio Bolsonaro. Because Richard himself and his lawyer who works in real estate said that the lawyer is not alone, that Flávio is with him. So it seems like the lawyer is more of a front man for Flávio in the purchase of this house, which had already been bought by the player Richardson. What's going on, guys? Richardson, from Richard, the player from the Brazilian national team. Think about this. You might say, Andre, that's too much coincidence for one person. Don't you agree? My first payment was with Daniel, using money from Arcar and Vorcaro. This one too maybe was paid with money from Vorcaro. But the player is the one who paid. So is the player losing the house, guys? So things are getting heated. Congressman Rogério Correa talked a bit about this here. Look, pay attention.
There's nothing like one day after another. The report about Flávio Bolsonaro's mansion has come up again. Funny, isn't it? They filed a complaint against me, the PL, in the Ethics Council because I reported a mansion in Angra dos Reis that Flávio Bolsonaro had taken from Richard. That's old news. Richard, your buddy, a player for Brazil, good at soccer. Besides the Ethics Council, Flávio Bolsonaro himself also filed a lawsuit against me in court. Now, Richard proves that there's an ongoing legal dispute and that he spent 10 million and that this house was simply given to Flávio Bolsonaro and the Bolsonaro family, something that belonged to him. And it also involves other people like Alencar de Silveira Jr., who is also part owner of the property and suffered a loss. It was proven once again that when I said there was nothing fake or untrue, I was right. In fact, do you know who signed these lawsuits against me? A partner of the Cavalcantes. And today, another action from the federal police appears against the partners who kept money in a suitcase and now money in books, huh, folks? We have to see if he did that with the Holy Bible, too. Look at the video. Did you see it?
I was right. There's nothing like one day after another report about the mansion showed up. That's right.
It's quite a coincidence, isn't it? Everything involves Flávio Bolsonaro. He sure does like mansions, doesn't he? Especially if it's, money laundering and using a front person, because the money comes from stealing. Daniel Vorcaro can tell you that, right? Oh, the federal police are out on the streets, my dear and my legend. In Rio de Janeiro, the federal police arrest Pastor Márcio Poncio. Of course, there had to be a pastor involved. Batela, former president of the Legislative Assembly, and Adilchinho are already under arrest. On Thursday morning, the federal police launched the fifth phase of Operation Unha e Carne to investigate evidence of money laundering committed by the boss from the new leadership of the Jogo do Bicho, and possible connections of the scheme with members of the executive and legislative branches of Rio de Janeiro. This is part of that same mafia. Yes, from Flávio Bolsonaro's allies, I have to say it because it's true. Rodrigo Bacelar, this one here, is he already in jail? He was a state representative, president of the Legislative Assembly of Rio de Janeiro, who had already received the Bolsonaro family's blessing to succeed Claudio Castro. Claudio Castro has already had his mandate revoked and is ineligible and will soon be in jail. This person is already incarcerated. He's part of Flávio Bolsonaro's political group in Rio de Janeiro. Look it up, Rodrigo Bacelar and Flávio Bolsonaro. You'll see the two of them together at several events. He's already in jail, along with T.H. Hoyas, along with two secretaries appointed by Flávio Bolsonaro in former Governor Claudio Castro's administration. So the situation is closing in, and now they've caught the pastor. I've always told you, you need to have a religious entity because it helps to launder money and you don't pay taxes. You don't pay any taxes yet because religious temples are tax exempt. So they found the pastor here now who was arrested today. And what's the scheme, Andrea? Corruption. They squandered the public assets of Rio de Janeiro during Claudio Castro's administration. Involvement with the Jogo do Bicho militia and Red Command. Yeah, they leaked confidential information to the Red Command and so on and so forth. It's all right here, look. And to me, this is getting closer every day to the boss, Claudio Castro, former governor of Rio de Janeiro, and even to Flávio Bolsonaro, since they're from the same political group. Or was Flávio just caught up in all this and didn't know anything? Was he innocent? Really? My grandmother used to say, my daughter, once things get tangled up, they stay that way for life. So I don't know, Actually, Henrique Vieira talked about this pastor who was arrested. Look, see what Henrique Vieira said? He's also from Rio de Janeiro.
Pastor Marcio Poncho arrested, another pastor arrested, another extremely wealthy pastor involved in a corruption scheme. It's not about the people's faith. It's not about the many humble and hardworking pastoral leaders with genuine faith serving others. That being said, it's shocking what happens in our country. The arrest of Marcio Poncio today is related to a federal police investigation into the cigarette mafia, illegal gambling, and the payment of bribes to public officials. We want to follow and understand exactly what this pastor's involvement is in this scheme, but I want to go beyond that. Because the scandals involving extremely wealthy pastoral leaders just keep piling up. Eder Macedo's track record, the wealth of Silas Malafaia, the issue over there with the Clava Fora, Andre Valadon's bank, and now Marcio Poncio and so many others. It becomes more and more evident that these are people who are using and abusing the church, the pulpit, and the faith of our people. I ask you to understand me. This is not about faith. It's not about the work of the churches. I was raised in the church. Faith is something legitimate, organic, and sincere in my life. But what happens in this country? We can't be afraid to name names. There are pastoral leaders building economic and business empires with mansions, private jets, helicopters, luxury and extravagance, and then they say God, country, and family. And then they go there and claim a Christian morality. Then they go and politicize the pulpit, hijacking people's faith and fueling a culture of hate. It's money, it's wealth, it's power, it's mansions, it's private jets, it's helicopters. It's all very strange when the gospel is simple. It's loving your neighbor, it's sharing bread, it's practicing mercy, it's a sense of justice, it's reaching out, it's serving people. I look at this with concern from the perspective of the gospel and faith, but also from the perspective of democracy. When churches are used for very dangerous schemes of ostentation and luxury, and by all indications, even corruption, how long will they keep using God's name in vain? Warm regards.
Wow. Pastor Henrique Vieira said it all. Unfortunately, folks, that's what's happening. Wherever there's a criminal organization, that moves a lot of money. There will always be a religious leader to help launder that money using religious temples, unfortunately. This pastor even has a jet. There's a private jet. It reminded me of Silas Malafaia. They have everything, like that. So, he was even known as the tobacco pastor because he had a factory. He has a cigarette factory. Just think about the situation. My God, how is that possible, people? And there are people who are deceived and fooled and tricked by this kind of person. And speaking of pastors like that, we can't forget Yesterday, the federal police operation. The federal police suspects a forged deed to justify 470,000 with partner Sostenes. The federal police are investigating whether allies of federal deputy Sostenes Cavalcante forged documents related to the sale of property to try to justify the origin of almost 470,000 found in cash at the congressman's house. In December 2025, what's happening, Andrea? It's new information that we didn't know about. The police have strong evidence that the deed presented of the property that the partner of Descavalcante said he had sold, and that's why he had the 470,000 at home, is fake. There isn't even any property, let alone sold. Does the partner Descavalcante think that the federal police are fools? I wonder if he judges the police by his own standards. Why is that? Does he think he could present a situation like this and the federal police wouldn't look into it thoroughly? My dear, from all indications, the situation is much deeper and more serious than we imagine when it comes to the leader of the Liberal Party, Pastor Socio Descavalcante. And I dare say this is just the tip of the iceberg. And once the police start pulling at this, the whole dirty mess will come out. Just wait. Partner Descavalcante is more of the same and very little from these Bolsonarists. Unfortunately, that's the situation. I'm not sure if you saw it. I showed it to you here, I think. Here it is, look. They hid money inside a fake book. Did you get it? 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 And inside the book, actually, there was hidden money. And the police carried out a new operation yesterday. And what is the suspicion? That they embezzled money from the legislative expense allowance, reaching nearly 29 million at the beginning of the investigation. And for that, they put the companies there, like I always tell you, to try to divert the money trail using straw owners. And the scheme is serious. All signs suggest the situation for Escavalcante's partners is becoming more complicated. The congressman talked about this situation here. Look, my dear Glauber Braga, look here, pay attention.
The leader of the PL is all tangled up. Operação Galho Fraco Tu. Mr. Escavalcante said that the more than 400,000 reais in his closet came from selling a property. And then the federal police went to look for the deed. It didn't exist. So they formalized the deal. They drew up the deed after the operation. Then a simulated transaction is made. That's one possibility, a fake purchase and sale of a house in Minas Gerais. But now, Mr. Thiago de Paula, who would be the buyer, doesn't have any record of withdrawals made by him during the period of the transaction. Information that comes to light today. Just imagine, you sign a contract in Minas Gerais. After that, the money is delivered in Minas Gerais. And it goes into a car, comes to Brasilia, then goes into the PL leader's locker. It stays there. The PL leader then said that the money was still in his locker because he forgot to deposit it. After that, they ask, where's the deed? There isn't one. It's made after the operation. Where's the withdrawn money? The potential buyer of the property also doesn't have any record of withdrawal. No withdrawal related to this money. Third, to internal affairs so that the leader of the PL, Mr. Sosnes Cavalcante, is properly held accountable for this scandal. There isn't any information given by him that is even minimally consistent. It's essential that he answers for his actions. Where is this money from? Is it from the quota? Is it from the secret budget? Is it from his connections with Malafaia? The leader of the PL has to explain himself. The leader of the PL is in serious trouble.
He's in trouble, and the more he tries to explain, the worse the situation gets. The situation is ugly. See? And soon, it might be the knock, knock, knock of the federal police before you know it, coming to arrest business partner Sosnes Cavalcante. The scheme is serious, hiding money inside fake books. Let's see what happens. We want justice, right? And Sosnes Cavalcante, he's the typical fake moralist because he loves to point fingers at others, doesn't he? He even tried to create a smokescreen before this federal police operation, saying that he sent a document to the Trump administration to talk about PT's involvement with the PCC, blah, blah, blah. And right after that, he gets exposed. He's the one who has to explain this whole situation, and he doesn't explain anything. And when he tried to explain, saying that the 470,000 was from a property, he didn't even have any documents for that property. For all we know, there wasn't even a property. They made up a whole fake situation to try to fool the federal police, but the federal police aren't stupid, right, guys? The federal police aren't fools. So for heaven's sake, right? Smash that like button, comment, and share. Because not here, no way. Here's the deal. It's Lula, a 4th win in the first round, Flavio going downhill. And Michelle, you need to get out of this environment of misogyny where you are victims today, right? Get out, smash that